Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate each and every one of you. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. A lot of game twos, a lot of game threes, depending on where you are in the series. I believe the Pacers and the Cavs are playing game two right now. The last time I checked the score, LeBron was doing LeBron things. LeBron does not like to be the guy that is shown up. He was shown up in game one. Victor Oladipo had a wonderful coming out party, and LeBron James he does this thing where once he gets shown up, he's decided that no one else is going to score but LeBron James. The Cavs currently leading by 11 points, 13 now, 56-44. And let's see here, because LeBron had just a million points when I last checked. He has 27 points now. He had 20 before anybody had anything at all. But I do want to talk about last night's game with the Pelicans and the Blazers, because there's an upset going on in that one. The Pelicans are the 6th seed. The Blazers are the 3 seed. I understand in the Western Conference, everybody is so close together. Everyone's so tightly bunched. What is an upset in the Western Conference, really? But still, I don't know that anybody thought that the Blazers were going to be pushed around by the Pelicans the way that they did. The Pelicans did win by just 2 points in game one, but they won by more last night. They won by about 10. And the thing that the Pelicans are doing right now, I think, is interesting, because I think that they're proving something that we have all moved on from. And I don't think that that's right. We've all moved on from the big man in the NBA, and Anthony Davis and the New Orleans Pelicans are proving that the most important position on the floor is the center. I don't think that was always true. I think that we had the center as the most important position. I think the league changed a lot of the rules to make it guard heavy. I think they were trying to protect guards, but guards flourished. You've got Steph Curry. You've got Kyrie Irving. You've got John Wall. I mean, you could name guards forever. Every team's got two. If you're a guard dominant team, DeRozan and Lowry. I mean, every team's got a bunch of guards. So we assume, because there are so many guards, it's a guard driven league. I don't think so. I actually think that the most important position on the floor is center. And the reason why I think that is because the centers have evolved to match the rules. And I think that that's something that we didn't think about, that we didn't expect the centers to evolve to match the rules. So we assumed that they were dead and that every center would look like DeAndre Jordan or be as useless as Dwight Howard is now. And that's not necessarily the case. Once you've got centers that match to evolve in the environment, right? We talk about evolution. That's something that's true, at least on a small scale, right? Like you adapt to match your environment. There's a reason why, some people are able to live in high altitudes, and every marathon running winner is Kenyan. It's because you live in high altitudes, your body adapts to your environment, and then nobody can beat you in long distance anything because you just have the lung capacity to do it. I mean, you adapt to your environment, and big men never got the chance to adapt. And now that they are, the center's back, baby. The center is back. Anthony Davis, Kristaps Porzingis, Karl Anthony Towns, DeMarcus Cousins when he's healthy. Nikola Jokic is really good in Denver, even though the rest of that team isn't. But there's a lot of big guys who are capable of passing the ball well, dribbling the ball well, shooting the ball from long range well. And we're going to see more of these guys coming into the league. I think Luka Doncic is the next big guy that's coming into the league that can just do everything. There was a international tournament, and I think you can go find it on YouTube. I mean, the kid just pushed around Kristaps Porzingis like it was nothing. He made Kristaps Porzingis look useless out there, and Kristaps is really good. So I'm looking at the way that this league works, and I'm going, if you have yourself a big man who can really play, not just a guy who's a shot blocker, not just a guy who you pick and roll and he can't shoot free throws, even though that guy has an impact on the game too. When you look at what Rudy Gobert means defensively to the Jazz, or Hassan Whiteside means defensively to the Miami Heat, those guys even have an impact, even though they're not even offensive guys. if you don't have a legitimate big at the 5 or 4, I honestly think you don't have a shot. You don't really have a shot. Like Cleveland, for instance, I think they have a shot and they need him to play better. But Kevin Love is a big. He rebounds the ball incredibly well. That's what he was known for years, and he can shoot. He's a new age big guy that can space out the floor. But the fact of the matter is, we have a lot of guards that are great because the rules make them great. We live in a world where Victor Oladipo can dominate the first round. Victor Oladipo, who I like a lot. But Victor Oladipo was never a dominant guy, right? Like Victor Oladipo was not dominant when he was in Orlando. Victor Oladipo certainly wasn't dominant in Oklahoma City. And a part of that is playing next to Russell Westbrook. You just tend to be diminished in that way because Russell Westbrook is a ball hog. But Victor Oladipo is never this dominant force. And all of a sudden, Victor Oladipo in the first round of the playoffs, and he'll win most improved player, but in the first round of the playoffs, he erupts for 32 points. He clearly is the showstopper in a series that has LeBron James in it. And I have to wonder how much of this is just the fact that guards are able to get off. If they're in the right system, guards are able to just find these hot spurts. In the right system, Kendall Marshall, who's no longer in the league, Kendall Marshall was averaging like 18 points a game. It's just easy to be a guard. Which we have confused with being a guard-driven league. But the fact of the matter is, there was a time in this league where you could be one of the best teams in the league if you had Patrick Ewing and Hakeem Olajuwon. And you had Kareem. And then the guards took over. The rules changed. You couldn't hand check. We're all pace and space now. We shoot a bunch of threes, and the guards took over. But the centers are back. The centers have learned the skills that the guards need to know to survive. And if you have Anthony Davis playing the way that Anthony Davis has been playing over the last month, the best team in basketball is you. And Anthony Davis wasn't the high scorer in last night's game. It was Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday scored 33 points. But Drew Holiday is, if you go down the list of the best point guards in the NBA, how many guys would you have to rattle off before you got to Drew Holiday? And they're really good guards on bad teams too. How many guys would you have to go through before you got to Drew Holiday? The reason why Drew Holiday gets to do what he does is because A, he's in Alvin Gentry's system. And Alvin Gentry is a disciple of Mike D'Antoni. Okay, they run a similar system. We're going to run a lot. We're not really going to focus that much on defense. And we're going to shoot a ton. So you can get 33 points in that system if you're Drew Holiday. But also, Drew Holiday had 9 assists. A lot of them, they were lobs to Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis has his hands all over the makeup of this team on the offensive and defensive end of the floor, to a point where Alvin Gentry is not even a defensive guy. But the Pelicans are a very good defensive team because Anthony Davis guards the rim. Talk about that Pacers-Cavs series that I was talking about earlier. 4 guys for Indianapolis scored in double digits. Victor Oladipo, Lance Stevenson from off the bench, so leading on the bench, and Bojan Bogdanovic, who is just a heat check guy, really. And he didn't even shoot the ball well. He's like 1 for 6 from 3. The only other double-digit scorer for Indiana, their center, Miles Turner. And Miles Turner is far from a dominant center. He doesn't have any post moves. He's not really a shooter. But Miles Turner was one of the key differences in that game. Cleveland can't just go to the basket whenever they want to, because they have a big guy. Here's what the NBA needs to learn. We've come back to the big guy. You need a good big guy. Now, it can't just be any big guy. It can't just be any dude who's 7 feet tall. We did have a point where that was the case. But it can't just be any guy. The guy's got to be able to shoot a little bit. He's got to be able to handle a little bit. He's got to be able to have vision. And I don't even know how I forgot Joel Embiid, but Joel Embiid, again, another big guy that can change games. You've got to be a versatile big. But if you have one, that guy's the most important guy on the floor. Easily. He's the most important guy on the floor if you've got one of those guys. And, you know, I see this a lot too. For instance, I mean, fashion, we go back around to things. Stuff you thought would never come back. Horn-rimmed glasses, they're back, right? There was a point where people weren't wearing afros. Afros are back, apparently. Turtleneck sweaters are back. Who would have thought that any of these things would return? And yet, here they are. I mean, don't be shocked. Tie-dye shirts and bell-bottom jeans come back. They will come back. Everything comes back around, right? I think a few years ago, we started to notice the second golden age of TV. We watched TV primarily, then the movies took over, and now we're back around to TV because we had a lot of great shows, Breaking Bad, Mad Men, The Sopranos. Just because something fades away doesn't mean it's never coming back. And we had the big man fade away in the NBA, and then it came back. And by the way, the running back is coming back to the NFL. The running back is coming back because what we're asking running backs to do, we needed to wait for that position to adapt. We needed to wait for that position to evolve. And you have to let it happen. The traditional running back is gone. And so we thought, well, running backs are gone, but they're not. I mean, you look at the success of guys like Christian McCaffrey, who was a rookie last year, Todd Gurley, who's going into his third season now, and he's been largely successful. Kareem Hunt got off to a great start last year. You've got to be able to run the ball in the NFL, but you also need a running back who's a multi-purpose back. He's got to be able to catch the ball. He's got to be able to operate in space, maybe even return punts and kicks. He's got to be able to do a variety of things. But if you let the running backs adapt, they're going to be here for a very, very long time. That all of a sudden, having a great running back is important. We're looking at an NFL draft where, yeah, one of the hot topics of conversation is going to be quarterback. It's always going to be quarterback. Darnold, Rosen, Allen. But when we look at the running backs, this is a loaded running back draft. I mean, you got the two backs from Georgia, Michelle and Chubb. You've got Saquon Barkley. There's a number of guys in this draft that you can find. We talk about the NFL being an offensive league. And yet, everybody tries to draft a corner and they try and draft a defensive end. You have to come back around eventually. And so when I look at big men in the NBA, a position that I think we've largely taken for granted, and I think that this is important if you're the Warriors, and I think it's important if you're the Cavs, who seem to be on another collision course with one another. If the Cavs don't get more help from their bigs, Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love, they're not winning a title. They might make it back on the strength of LeBron. They might make it back to the finals on the strength of LeBron. But if they don't get help from their bigs, because that's the most important position on the floor, it is now. Anthony Davis is showing us this. If they don't get help from those bigs, they're not going back. They're not. And Golden State, they have nights like last night where they just shoot the lights out of the gym. Durant was popping off. Klay Thompson was popping off. Draymond Green, though, is the guy that's grabbing the rebounds, that's defending the rims, that's making the big-time hustle plays. Draymond Green is their big. And if they don't get things from Draymond, if they don't get that grit, the guts from Draymond, they don't get that stuff, they're not beating anybody, especially not without Steph. But we've seen the Warriors struggle when they aren't able to score inside, when they aren't able to get to the basket. When the shots aren't falling, I mean, you could make the very strong argument that Kyrie Irving going down in a couple of NBA finals, and maybe the Warriors are champions of 1 instead of 2 of the last 3. And part of that is because they don't really have anybody inside. Kevin Durant is big, but he doesn't play like a big. You don't have one of those guys, and it's going to shift more in this direction as time goes on. As Karl Anthony Towns starts to figure out his game, as Joel Embiid starts to figure out what he's capable of, we're going to start to see this shift. We just are. And it's going to be huge. I mean, I can't believe that I'm saying this, but like that, if you have a great center, you've got a shot. I mean, the Jazz are a playoff team largely because of Rudy Gobert, a little bit because they found some offensive production from Donovan Mitchell to replace Gordon Hayward. And Donovan Mitchell's amazing. But in large part because Rudy Gobert steps on the floor and alters your offense. Anything that you want to do as an offensive team playing against Utah, you can't even do with that guy standing in front of the rim. You can't even do it. And I'm surprised. I'm surprised that he isn't given more credit for that. Right? We keep thinking of the NBA in terms of offensive players, in terms of guys that can get his own shot, and the league is moving back around to big guys. The league is moving back around to that direction in the same way that we are somehow moving back around towards turtleneck sweaters. Oh, did you see this, by the way, in the NCAA tournament? I think Michigan was doing it. The short shorts. Ben Simmons, was it Ben Simmons or was it Markelle Fultz? There are guys in this league. I know Kelly Oubre in Washington. They're wearing the short shorts again. How did we come back around to short shorts? It's a cycle. It's a cycle. Everything comes back around. The music industry was dead, but it comes back around, right? Like when music was able to be pressed to records, they thought the music industry was dead. Instead, songs just got shorter. Songs got to be 3.5 minutes long, which is something that's how long they are now. Never changed. And then radio came along, and then the internet came along, and every time you think it's dead, it comes back around. Every time you think radio's dead, it comes back around. We thought the big man was dead. And I don't know why we thought that. We had to wait for him to adapt, but they're going to come back around. They are. We're not going to see guys dominate in the same way that maybe Shaq did. Maybe we're not going to see guys like Hakeem and Kareem or Wilt, guys that dominated in the post and dominated down low. But you are going to see big guys. Like there's going to be a market for guys that are 7 feet tall. And the thing is, it's harder to do that. It's harder to be a skilled big. So there's a premium on those guys. Those guys are more desirable. Those guys are more wanted. There's more desire for what those guys can offer because you can find guards that can play. There's a million of them. If I started naming all the guards in the league that I liked right now, I wouldn't be done in time for this show to end. There's a million guards, right? Like guys that you don't even think of every day because they just disappear on bad teams. Mike Conley's really great. Disappeared in Memphis. Rondo has been playing incredibly well for the Pelicans. We forgot he existed. Derrick Rose had a good night the other night for the Timberwolves. Derrick Rose hasn't been good in 7 years. It feels like a lifetime ago, the last time we thought Derrick Rose was good. Derrick Rose can have good games in this league still because it's easy to be a guard in this league. It's not easy to be a skilled big, which is what makes them even more important because if you have one of those guys, you can do something that nobody else in the league can do. Nobody. You're listening to all new Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com. 92.7 FM. The Atlanta Braves made a big-time free agent signing that proves to me that they're about winning right now. Next.
Chattanooga Radio, Digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
Chattanooga cops defended the gang injunction in Eastlake while a judge decides on whether or not it should be allowed to stay. Police say the crime has been drastically reduced thanks to the injunction levied against the Eastlake Courts area, which banned a list of about 24 gang members from publicly meeting. A judge will make a decision on whether or not the zone is legal by July. County inmate Arthur Smith charged with 7 counts of reckless endangerment and vandalism after guards say he ripped out a sprinkler head from the ceiling. Large sections of the fire suppression system were non-operational for several hours while repairs were made, endangering other inmates. Tennessee lawmakers moved to bar judges from ordering inmates be sterilized. Both the Tennessee House and the Senate agree that forced sterilization should be explicitly banned by law. Sean Hannity, weekdays from 3 to 6. Val St. John for Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 News Now.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio, Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. Chattanooga
weather. Partly cloudy skies through your nighttime. A quick passing sprinkle possible, but not much. Cooler by morning lows mid-40s. For Thursday, some sun, but breezy, cool all day. High stuck into the upper 50s. Chilly tomorrow night, lows upper 30s. Sunny and pleasant for Friday. Get ready for the 22nd Annual National Cornbread Festival, April 28th and 29th in South Pittsburgh, with headliners Exile and Doyle Lawson, 5 stages, crafts, lodge tours, and more. Visit nationalcornbread.com. And I'm Soren E12, Chief Meteorologist, Manager for
Nooga Radio 92.7. Chattanooga Morning News with Russ and Val. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on Nooga Radio 92.7 FM. Broadcasting live to over 1 million souls in Chattanooga, the Tennessee Valley, and beyond on frequency modulation 92.7. Sean Hannity, 25,000 watts on digital FM 95.3 HD4. CBS Radio News, NASCAR, Bloomberg Markets, David Tulis, streaming strong at NoogaRadio.com. Live on YouTube and Facebook. Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Chattanooga Radio.
I'm a gun enthusiast. I got my first .22 when I was 8. I hunt, shoot for sport, and sometimes blow off a little steam at the range. That's why I go to Shooter Supply. They have all my ammo and accessories. And if I find that next just gotta have it, I get that baby 12 months same as cash and 20% off on range membership. Big box stores can't do that. Shooter Supply can. Just look for the A-frame on Hickson Pike at 153. Shooter Supply. Buy there, shoot there.
Hey guys, do you need a mini man break? We know how busy you are, but don't let your hairstyle suffer. Come see the stylist at Sport Clips at Hamilton Place and let them treat you to the MVP experience. A precision haircut, legendary hot steam towel, massaging shampoo, and relaxing neck and shoulder treatment, all while watching your favorite sports. No appointment needed. Sport Clips at Hamilton Place, located in front of Home Depot.
Cash, 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 and more. No, gold, 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 and more gold. Rick's got the gold, gold, gold. Don't miss out. Tired of bank rates as low as 1%? What? Then you need to go to Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. That's right. Rick guarantees profit. Get your Gold American Eagle certified by the federal government and get 8.1% profit. Guaranteed. Rick Davis, 5301 Brainerd Road. Rick Davis, Chattanooga. Gold, 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 and more gold.
Mom's Furniture. Her boxes of paperback romances. Mom's Estate. Oh, call Dan. Dan will help you get on with your life. Let Dan clear the old house. Take care of everything. He'll hand you a nice check. 314-4034. Dan the Cleanup Man. 314-4034. In this moment, who has your back? Do you know the name of your insurance agent? Does your agent know your name? Or would you call a 1-800 number that connects you with whom? Another state? Another country? Get a local independent insurance agent with Auto Owners Insurance. Someone you can call when bad stuff happens. In this moment, get an agent who will protect you in that moment. Let Goss Insurance in Chattanooga help you today. GossInsurance.wordpress.com. Goss, representing Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people. GossInsurance.com. Goss. GossInsurance.com, representing Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people. 875-2500, 875-2500. Want a business phone system that gives you Outlook integration, Salesforce integration, smartphone integration? Why desk sets and expensive lines? Turn smartphones into a cohesive business system. Call Signal 619-1200. Signal Voice and Data 619-1200.
Nuga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree? Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nuga Radio, 92.7 FM and 95.3 HD4. News Talk Nuga Radio.
Sharp, opinionated, thought-provoking, clutch with Keon Rose.
I'm upset. And I'm not going to spend too much time talking about my fantasy football or fantasy baseball team, because talking about your fantasy baseball team is like talking about your dreams. Nobody cares but you. But there's a number, and because I get that it's cold in the Northeast, but there's a number of postponed games that are ruining me. They're ruining me in fantasy baseball. I have guys that aren't playing. Every day I have like 3 guys not playing because of a postponed game. I'm saying, I know it's cold in Chicago right now. Get out there and play. Are football players play in the cold? Why can't baseball players play in the cold? What is wrong with this? I've seen it. In college baseball, you're Michigan State, Wisconsin. I mean, you're in the Big Ten. You're playing the spring games in the cold. There are guys in Major League Baseball right now who know how to play in the cold. Right? Like Todd Frazier knows how to play in the cold. I think Trey Turner. The guys can play in the cold. They can learn how to play in the cold. And stop ruining my fantasy baseball life. I got a pretty decent team. I'm happy with the way I drafted my team. But man, these postponed games are killing me. Just killing me. All right. Enough about me. More about the Braves, because the Braves are interesting to me, because I don't think anybody expected the Braves to actually be good. And surprise, surprise, the Braves are actually good. They are actually good. And this is shocking to everyone. And I assume also the Braves, who are trying to make moves like they want to compete in the National League East right away. And look, they have every reason to do it. So they went out today. They signed a minor league deal with Jose Bautista, formerly of the Toronto Blue Jays, for the last 10 years. And he's been one of the best hitters in baseball over that stretch of time. And I think a question that a lot of people had is, does Jose Bautista make the Braves better? I don't even think that's a relevant question. Of course he does. He immediately, out of the box, makes the Braves a better baseball team. And I'll tell you why, right? He's going to play third base. And at third base, currently, is Ryan Flaherty, who is playing unbelievably well right now, right? He's hitting .354. But this is not normal for Ryan Flaherty, whose career batting average is actually .221. And in 6 years of playing the game of baseball, right? 6 years of his Major League Baseball career, Ryan Flaherty, he's got 35 home runs and 131 RBI, which I should point out at the height of Jose Bautista was a season for him. I'm not going to compare Jose Bautista's whole career to Ryan Flaherty's. That doesn't seem fair. Jose Bautista's reached higher heights than Flaherty has, but and Jose Bautista's old now, right? He's 37 years old. I think that would be dumb to compare him career-wise to Flaherty. So I'll just compare Jose Bautista's last season, in which he played like an old man. And here's what happened. He didn't hit the ball really well. Just 201. But even just hitting 201, Jose Bautista hit 22 home runs, and he hit over 100 RBIs. So even though his batting average is lower, his production is higher than anything Flaherty could give you just because he's a true slugger in every definition of the word. He is 100% the real deal. You put Jose Bautista at third base, where admittedly he started his career playing third base a little bit when he was with the Pirates, and he ended his time with the Blue Jays playing a little bit of third. I think he ended up playing about 14, 15 games on third. And it wasn't a disaster from what I understand. It's not long enough to tell you if the guy's actually good there, but people felt confident enough to put him on third base. So I assume that there's something there. And you can't have him replacing, like Preston Tucker out in left, because that's where you are going to ultimately put Ronald Acuna. But just immediately, Jose Bautista gives you offense, even if he doesn't hit well. And he probably won't. That's the reason why he's not in Toronto anymore. He just can't hit the ball the way that he was hitting early in his career when he was hitting around 330. Now he hits around 201, and this is what you expect from old people. It's something that you're going to see from like Albert Pujols also. You're just not going to hit the ball. You're not going to get better as you get older, but he can still hit a lot of home runs, and certainly more than anybody else that they have at third base, more than Flaherty, more than Ruiz. And so you've got to really allow Jose Bautista to get into playing shape and just take the chance on that guy giving you something. And I don't think that there's any doubt that he's going to give you something. And I think that the fact that the Braves are willing to go out there and sign Bautista, and in the offseason, they're going to sign Nick Markakis to a 1-year deal, sure. But Nick Markakis is 36 years old. He's another old dude. In baseball years. I mean, you're talking about a team that's very young. But it just seems to me that the Braves have some bizarre commitment to winning and winning right away. And the way that they started this season seems to indicate that they're really not that far off. And I love it. I think they ought to try. People had a problem with the Markakis signing. It's so weird to give that guy any amount of money. You can't trade him. I don't know what reasonable production you expected from him. Now, again, Markakis is another one of these guys that is just starting the season like gangbusters, and he is hitting at a level that I don't think anybody anticipated, and he is playing at a level that I don't think anybody anticipated. How long he can keep it up is anybody's guess, but the fact that you're willing to rely on a guy that's 36 years old, and you're going to get Jose Bautista and try and rely on a guy that's 37 years old, tells me you don't mind signing guys to short-term deals who are past their prime for the opportunity to win more games now. And I think it's smart. It's smart for two reasons. One, Markakis is on a 1-year deal. Bautista's on a 1-year deal. So you're not chaining yourself to these guys for 4 or 5 years, knowing that you want to have a young roster come up and ultimately replace them. So that's smart. But then the other part of it, too, is you got to test the Nationals. They are currently the kings of the division, but they have weaknesses and flaws, and they're massive weaknesses and flaws, including their bullpen, which is god-awful. I mean, it's unwatchable at points. The Nationals can hit. The Nationals can pitch so far as their starting rotation goes. But, I mean, you talk about middle relievers, the Nationals don't have any. You got to test them. And you got the Mets. The Mets, who have rediscovered that they could play. They've rediscovered Noah Syndergaard because, my God, did you see what he did over the weekend? When he have like 10 strikeouts in 4 innings, the guy's insane. The guy is a human flamethrower. Noah Syndergaard. They've rediscovered him. So you've got the Mets and the Nationals beating each other up, and you're the Braves. And what you know so far from what you've done this season is you can beat both of them. You're capable of beating both of them in a series. Why not try? Why not roll the dice and see? You probably don't win the division. You probably don't make the playoffs. But what does it hurt you to try? What does it hurt you to give your fans something worth watching, to give them entertaining baseball where your team is in it every single day? I don't see the harm in it. And Batista does make the Braves better, which at the very most makes them dangerous, but at the very least makes them more fun to watch. Like currently, the Braves are, well, I mean, they would be my MLB extra innings team to watch. Except, you got the blackout restrictions. We're so close to Atlanta. But if it weren't for that, that would be the team that I would pull up on extra innings anytime I had a little bit of spare time. Right now, it's the Angels because of Ohtani. Anytime he's just doing something, I have to watch it. I just have to. But that would be the Braves. They're the feel-good story of the start of this season. And a lot of it has to do with stuff like this. A lot of this has to do with the fact that they're really trying. They're really going out there and attempting to win baseball games. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that as a fan of baseball. You're listening to all new Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. Let's shift gears here over to college football. Shea Patterson, quarterback for Ole Miss, has transferred to Michigan. He is a Wolverine, which I think is going to be fun because Shea Patterson is an incredible athlete and I think a really, really good quarterback. And Shea Patterson wrote a 9-page takedown of Ole Miss to the NCAA. A lot of the things that he covered in his takedown of Ole Miss was that ultimately he was lied to by Hugh Freeze, the former head coach, and he's currently practicing with the Wolverines. I don't believe the NCAA has granted him the ability to be a starter, which I think is a big part of him writing this document. But I think they should give it to him. Hugh Freeze did lie, and he didn't just lie to Shea Patterson. He lied to the University of Ole Miss. He lied to every other player that he recruited. And at some point, we have to say, college players, I think college players should just be able to transfer willy-nilly. I think that would absolutely be the most fun that we could possibly have. But obviously, there are advantages to restricting players from just transferring all the time. I think it would get hectic. I think there would be a certain degree of college football fans that would hate everything about that. Not me, but I'm a weirdo. But certainly Shea Patterson should be able to play and keep his eligibility after transferring out from Ole Miss. He was brought in by a guy who promised Shea and a number of those players and a number of their parents a lot of things, at least ethically. And I don't think that the players were necessarily hurt by the fact that Hugh Freeze was dealing in escorts. I don't think that they were necessarily hurt by that. But that compounded with the fact that Hugh Freeze was definitely cheating. He was definitely breaking a lot of NCAA violations. He did try and blame it on the previous head coach, Houston Nutt, but that didn't work. that did not work, because if you go back and look at a lot of these violations, a lot of those violations were in fact him. A lot of the paying players. He promised those players a degree of morality, and he signed a morality clause into his contract, which I will never understand for the life of me why you would do that if you knew you didn't have the intention of being moral. This is the issue that I have there, is no one made you write that into your contract. If you thought to yourself, I'm not the most moral guy, and I don't want to be held to moral standards, let me not sign a morality clause into my contract. No one's stopping you. When you have to prove a point, if you're getting down with the escorts, maybe don't sign that into your contract. That would be a guess. And yeah, Hugh Freeze is a guy that wore his Christianity on his sleeve. And he went out recruiting with his Christianity on his sleeve. And he wound up coming across, in the end, like another sleazy televangelist kind of character. Like a guy who was just using the religion to meet his ends. He wasn't necessarily walking the walk. And that's the thing that's disappointing. And yeah, players make decisions based on that stuff. And more importantly than players, their parents make decisions based on that stuff. Like a lot of recruiting comes down to, well, do your parents trust you with a certain coach? Right? Like I remember hearing the story about Lamar Jackson and his mom, and they went to go see Bobby Petrino. And one of the things that's really important to Lamar Jackson is playing quarterback. He doesn't want to be a wide receiver. And his mom does not want her son to be a wide receiver. And she told Bobby Petrino, we're transferring out of here. If you dream of making my son a wide receiver, we're leaving. You better wake up and apologize, because we're getting out of here. And so Bobby Petrino stuck with Lamar Jackson at quarterback, which worked out pretty well for both of them, I would think. But the idea that your mom comes in and says, hey, I need to trust you with this. I need to trust the head coach with this. That was important. And I think that if you're Shea Patterson, you feel duped, you feel lied to, you should be able to transfer. You should be able to keep your eligibility and go somewhere else and have the opportunity to still play. I don't know if the NCAA will give it to him, but I certainly think that they should. You're listening to All New Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com, 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. The NFL Draft is, quite frankly, my favorite non-sporting sporting event. Is there anything more interesting than that? And look, the NFL Draft is interesting to not just me. It's interesting to a lot of people. It's interesting to you. And it's weird that the draft is interesting to you. And the reason why the draft is interesting to you and the draft is interesting to me is because there's a degree of drama and intrigue. But the reason why I think it's weird that it's interesting to anybody at all is, what is the NFL Draft except essentially a giant graduation ceremony with a bunch of people you do not know? They go up there, someone says their name, they shake the hand of a guy you've also never met. What is it except a giant graduation ceremony that you don't know? But it's compelling. It's compelling TV. Because we've been following this drama, a lot of us have been following this drama from college. So it's already interesting to go, okay, I've been watching a lot of college football. Where's this guy going to wind up? What does his future look like? But then it's also compelling because you're going to keep following the drama. I mean, the NFL has absolutely concocted in a way that is almost genius. I don't know if they ever knew it was going to wind up this big, or if they ever knew it was going to look like this. But in a way that is absolutely genius, the NFL has managed to take essentially a meeting and turn it into primetime TV and turn it into the greatest reality show in the history of reality TV. I'm not a guy that watches reality TV. I don't watch Survivor. I don't watch The Voice. I know a lot of people like it. I could just never get into it. Personally speaking, I think the only reality TV shows that I currently enjoy are I watch old episodes of Kitchen Nightmares on Hulu because I like to watch Gordon Ramsay yell at people. I just like watching angry people yell. That's really what it comes down to. But I'm not a big reality TV guy. But I watch the draft and I watch Hard Knocks. Like, the NFL has done this well. And honestly, the NBA has had no problems just following right along. They have no problems doing this. And we've done something really with the quarterbacks because we really mostly care about quarterbacks anyway. Most of these guys are not going to pan out. Darnold, Rosen, Jackson, Allen. Most of these guys aren't going to pan out. And we have managed to have this conversation around the odds of them not panning out. It's almost cruel and brutal in a way, but we've managed to make an entire world of entertainment around which of these guys is going to be successful in their future careers or not. And I just think it's odd. And I also think it would be crazy if someone did that to you. If somebody went to your job and tried to guess the odds of you making it. That would be bizarre and weird. And yet we do it all the time in football. You're listening to all new Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com, 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 24 hours.
Chattanooga Morning News with Brunson Val.